Let's get more reaction now. We're going to speak to Gushwell Brooks, who's the spokesperson for the Human Rights Commission. Gushwell, of course, we are getting lots of reaction on social media about this. You, of course, took this matter to the Equality Court. Vicki Momberg received a 100,000 Rand fine, which she wanted to appeal. What's your reaction to this decision, 2 years behind bars?
Well, there's a couple of things that I can mention with regards to that. I mean, first and foremost, it's unfortunate that the South African Human Rights Commission is in a position whereby we are taking her back to the Equality Court or back to court on the basis of contempt of court because she's not complying with elements of what the Equality Court had highlighted in the first instance. But second to that, this judgment is, of course, an order of the court. In this instance, the matter was brought in front of a criminal court, and you know that the onus of proof is much higher within, or the burden of proof within a criminal matter is much higher, where you have to prove the matter beyond a reasonable doubt. And beyond a reasonable doubt, it's been proven that Ms. Momberg, in this instance, found herself guilty of 4 counts of criminal injuria, more specifically the use of the K word. And the same principles as highlighted within the Equality Court apply in this particular instance.
Do you think, as the Human Rights Commission, she deserves 2 years behind bars?
As I said, in this instance, this is what the criminal court had found, and I think that it is, as harsh and as heavy as the sentence might sound. I think this is a clear warning and a clear indication of the fact that if you do commit acts of hate speech, and there's a criminal element to it, that there is going to be consequences to it, and that this is a fair warning to all within South Africa.
Gushwell, just quoting part of that judgment this morning, the magistrate saying that outrage to racism should not be condescendingly seen as an overreaction. For South Africans who are waking up to this news of this sentence this morning, and perhaps who might be thinking of it as a heavy-handed judgment, what does the Human Rights Commission have to tell them?
I mean, the exact same principles came out in the Equality Court matter, where the use of the K word was basically found not to be, that there is no excuse for the use of the K word within any particular context, especially within the context where you're having a rant. I will remind the public and yourselves that Ms. Momberg, for example, at the time stated that she was fearful and that she had been severely stressed, and she'd been through this smash and grab incident that happened to involve a black person, and then when she saw this black police officer or group of black police officers, that she then reacted in the way that she did. And I mean, what does that tell you? It tells you that this is someone that is, using the K word flippantly and in a very sort of, in a casual manner, and doesn't see the harm that she causes. And I think that it's very clear from the Equality Court in this instance that it is a harmful statement and that it is an act of hate speech. And I think this is a lesson for all South Africans in this particular instance.
Gushwell, do you think this 2-year sentence will act as a deterrent, or is it something that specifically will cause more outrage about this issue of racism in South Africa?
Well, the hope in the legal system and throughout the justice system is always that any custodial sentence for any particular crime is always going to be a deterrent. So in other words, the people understand that if I am found guilty of a particular act, that I can find myself behind bars, and therefore I will rather not act or say or do anything that will get me in that particular position. So in as much as it might cause outrage and people would point out that there are other criminal matters that are that should be investigated and should be actively acted against, this doesn't take away the fact that this is still an egregious act on behalf of the individual that's involved, and therefore we should steer clear of it. I mean, the argument that there is no lesser evil or greater evil in this particular instance, we can't say that because we have a problem with crime in other spaces, that this is an overreach or that this doesn't need priority. This does require a priority. As you've noticed, race is still a major issue in this country.
Lastly, before you go, you mentioned that Vicki Momberg has failed to comply with the Equality Court ruling. Just tell us exactly what she hasn't done.
So the full details of it, but in essence she's looking at contempt, so the full extent of what she had to comply with based on the judgment has not been fulfilled on her side. I mean, further details will be available at a later stage when we are able to take this matter and present it in front of court and say that, listen, Ms. Momberg is not compliant with this judgment, and that we're looking at taking it further in terms of contempt of court order, and what that also means. Are we going to take it further? Are we going to take it to a point? Are we going to take it to a point whereby we take it, beyond just simply saying that this is contempt?
She was supposed to actually issue an apology on social media and on your website. Has that happened?
No, that has not happened at this stage, no.
All right, thanks so much for your time and insight. We appreciate it. Human Rights Commission spokesperson Gushwell Brooks.